April 27th, Monday. This should be a short video where I just go over the directions for the final assignment of the poetry unit. So as of this morning, the Sonnet 18 work was due. You should have turned that in on Classroom. And now we're going to start walking quickly through the directions for this final assignment. So this assignment is going to require that you go through a lot of YouTube video attachments and use the attached document to respond to questions regarding those videos. So let's talk about that a little bit. The final assignment of the poetry unit is going to be a YouTube spoken word poetry scavenger hunt. So I have put up a bunch of different spoken word poetry videos, and you are to go through and have a listen to them. And what I recommend that you do is that before you watch any of the videos, read the attached document. We're going to go over it quickly now. It contains all of the directions for the assignment and all the questions you'll need to answer for the assignment. So since it helps to know the questions before you begin an assignment, we're going to take a look at that really quickly, because I think that it would be good for you to take notes as you go along so that you're expediting the situation and not having to go back and rewatch things. So note taking only is helpful if you know what kind of notes to take. So having said that, let's take a look at the spoken word poetry scavenger hunt directions. These are attached to the assignment, and I recommend that you take a look at them even once you're done with the video to kind of remind yourself of what you need to do, okay? This is, like I said, this is attached, and this is the actual document that you will type onto. It contains the directions and spaces for you to give your responses, okay? So here's what you're going to do. You've got up to 14 different spoken word videos to listen to. Take notes as we go along. So this is an assignment that should take you more than just a few minutes to complete. So I'm giving you a full week to do it, so I don't want you to rush. I want you to listen to each video. I want you to re-listen to it if you need to. You probably will for some of them that you're really focusing on, because you're going to be asked for text evidence and think about writer's good moves. I want you to really think about what you're writing and how you're writing it. I want to emphasize that the focus of what you're doing is on quality thinking and writing, not on giving you what you think is the right answer regarding the poems themselves. Okay, so really the thing that I'm looking for is, can you write like a freshman high school student? Because that's almost what you are. So I'm analyzing the writing and the thinking more than I'm concerned with you making a misstep or misinterpreting the poems themselves, okay? So with written responses here, there are 4 that I'm looking for. So there are a bunch of poems. I want you to go through and have a listen. There's all kinds of different topics to these poems. There's a poem on ADHD. There's poems about racism. There's a poem called To the Boys Who May Someday Date My Daughter, which is a hilarious poem told through the perspective of a very protective father. There's poems about the environment. There's poems written by young people, older people, big people, skinny people, the whole gamut. People of all races, all genders. So take a look and focus on poems that you like. There are 14. If you hate a poem and it's just not speaking to you, then move on and find another one. Ultimately, you're going to need to be able to write about 6 of the poems. So you should be able to find a few that you like in there. If something is just burning you out and you hate it, then skip it and move on to something that you do like. So here, when you look at number 1, I'm asking you to think about the range of emotions explored in the poems you watched. So we're thinking about tone of the poem, really. And so I'm going to ask you to focus on 6 poems here. So you should be able to find at least 6 that you've liked. So on this, it's just charting. Okay, it's not complete sentence writing here. So when you found a poem that you think is interesting, then give me the title, give me the author, speaker, same thing. Give me 1 or 2 words describing the emotion that's driving the poem. So really kind of the tone of the poem. Is it angry? Is it sad? Is it reflective? What seems to be the driving emotion in that poem? And then I want one piece of text evidence from the poem that makes that emotion clear. So that means you're going to have to listen and possibly re-listen. This is where taking notes is a good thing. So give me one piece of text evidence from the poem, one quote in quotation marks that shows me that that is the emotion you're identifying. Okay, so we want text evidence that supports your claim about the strong emotion in the poem. If you give me the title and the author, all you have to do over here is put that in quotation marks, and then you'll be covered as far as plagiarism goes. So that's number one. So now number two, you can use any of the six above to answer the questions down here that ask you to focus on three different poems. So here, you're looking at moves of a good writer or a good poet, good speaker. So as you're listening to the poems, can you identify great similes or metaphors in the poems? Identify three different poems where you see the speaker using either a great simile or a great metaphor. And here you're going to give me the title, the speaker, and then I want you to write down that piece of text evidence, that example of a simile or a metaphor in the poem. So you're going to do that for three different poems. That'll be number two. The document continues on to the next page, and this asks you to focus your study a little bit on one poem. So at this point, hopefully you've identified one poem that really kind of speaks to you, that's interesting to you for whatever reason, and you're going to focus on just that one and answer three. Before you get onto the charting here, give me the title of the poem and the speaker / author, same thing for that spoken word. So, few questions here, okay? What do you think was the overall theme of the poem? When we talk about theme, we're talking about a universal idea or message that anybody throughout history, time, or culture can relate to. Okay, so with themes, we're thinking about big, big questions about the world. What are the consequences of love? What are the effects of racism and violence? How do people learn to cope with loss and death and defeat? Okay, those are things that have to deal with themes. A lot of you in your Oh Captain, My Captain paragraph writing where you were asked to think about theme, a lot of you were slipping away from theme and thinking about mood. Theme is not how the poem makes you as the listener or reader feel. Theme is a big idea, an overriding message, a question that the writer or speaker asks us to think about that has to do with human nature, okay, or how the world works. So what do you think was the overall theme of the poem you're focusing on? Here, I want you to describe the speaker of the poem in terms of their appearance, their body language, facial expression, eye contact, voice, etc. Spoken word is meant to be performed. So what did you notice about that speaker in terms of his or her physicality? Okay, how did they use their body and expression and intonation to convey feeling and emotion and help the audience to understand the message? Here, right, here I'm asking you to think about tone. Describe the speaker's tone. What diction is in the poem to confirm your analysis of the tone? Here, I want text evidence, okay? I might go into the doc and clarify that. Here, I want a quote, okay? Describe the speaker's tone. So give me a high school response here. In Repetition by Phil Kay, the tone of the poem is X, sadness, okay? Phil Kay talks about blah, 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 and the diction that he uses that makes it clear that the tone is X is when he says, give me the quote, okay? So write like a high schooler here. Next part of the question of that one poem is, what good writing or speaking moves did you notice that poet using? I want you to think about rhetorical devices. Did you catch comparison, contrast, repetition, shift? Think about rhetorical appeals. Did you notice ethos, logos, pathos? And written response here. Now, the last thing that I'm asking you to do, and this is why I'm giving you weeks to do it, because between writing quality responses and watching and sifting through those videos, you a little bit of time. So with number 4, which of the poems on the list was your favorite and why? And I want you to use the 7 steps of good paragraph writing to construct your response. Okay, so I've listed the 7 steps down here as a reminder. And when you answer, try using academic language. So, for example, what I don't want to see is, I really like this poem because it has a catchy beat. Okay, so first of all, here's my first problem with it. Question is, which of the poems on the list was your favorite and why? You say, I really like this poem. And to me, I right away have a question. What is this poem? Which poem are you talking about? And beat is not academic language. That is not a term that we have studied from our poetry terms to know. So the more elevated, pimped response is Repetition by Phil Kay. Okay, so now I know exactly which poem you're going to write about. Repetition by Phil Kay was the best poem because of the poet's use of rhythm. Rhythm is an academic term that we've been working with. Okay, rhythm is the word, the diction that you want to use here rather than beat. Okay, and also we're avoiding saying things like I think, I like. I know that you think and you like. You're answering the question. Okay, keep the personal pronouns out of it. Make a strong, bold statement without I think. Okay, Repetition by Phil Kay was the best poem. Be authoritative there. Okay? And then continue on. So there's your topic sentence. There's number 1. Give me a branch. Give me a lead in. An attributive tag. Give me some text evidence to support your analysis. Right? If there's use of rhythm, give me an example of rhythm. And then maybe transition into something else. In addition to Hayes' use of rhythm, Repetition is also a great poem because of his creative use of diction, and then give me some great diction, or his creative use of metaphor, and give me an example of a metaphor with elaboration. Write me a strong paragraph like a high school student, and you're going to do it right down here. That's it. Okay? What I want you to do more than anything else is I want you to have a good time kind of exploring the poetry, okay, and thinking through spoken word poetry. So take some time to kind of look through that, okay, browse through the links and find poems you like. If you hate it, skip it. Okay, ultimately, you only need to find 6 poems that you really dig on. Okay, take your time with the assignment. It's due in 1 week. Listen to lots of poetry. Exposure to art is good for you. And I want your written work to be thoughtful and maturely done, particularly with number 3 and 4 on that doc. If you have questions about what you're doing as you move through the week, shoot me an email and I'll help you out. Okay. Take your time with it. If you rush, you're going to hate on it because it's going to be a lot. If you go slow and in increments and take notes as you listen, you're going to have a better time. Good luck. Go in peace.